by welcoming you to my presentation and just ask you to have a wee look at this image. Now, it might not be the most striking image as my opening picture for a sight sensory presentation, but I'm going to ask you just to take a wee moment and look at this image. I think there's a lot in there. There's two sweeping roads. There's a sentry of fence posts keeping the lambs, and you can't see the lambs, but there are lambs behind that fence. So they're keeping the lambs safe from the road. There's a woodland of trees in the background. There's a row of painted stones waiting on the first spring pass of the lawnmower to come along. And there's a gnarly kind of looking tree trying to hide behind the telegraph pole. Then there's an ivy and a honeysuckle tumbling over the rustic stone wall. It's a lovely stone wall, this one. And there's a variegated ivy, ball top ivy, standing guard just behind the wall. And of course, there's a host of golden daffodil at the foot of the wall. So what looks like a pretty kind of like, photograph is really quite interesting if we really focus and use our eyes to concentrate on the view. And if we do that, we can see so much more. So I've got a little video here. And before we delve into exploring sight, it's a short 3-minute video that I think explains exactly how clever our body actually is and how detailed and intricate our sensory organs are. So we'll just watch a bit.
The nervous system receives and processes information about the outside world in order to react, communicate, and keep the body healthy and safe. Much of this information comes through the sensory organs: the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. These are what we call our 5 senses. Let's go through each one. The white part of the eye is the sclera, which protects interior structures. The cornea is transparent to allow light to enter the eye. The pupil is actually an opening on the colored disc of the iris, which dilates or constricts, adjusting how much light passes through the pupil and onto the lens, which is curved. This helps focus the image onto the retina, which is a delicate membrane of nervous tissue containing photoreceptor cells. These cells, rods and cones, translate light into nervous signals, which are then carried by the optic nerve to the brain, which interprets them to form visual images. The outer ear funnels sound waves down the ear canal to the tympanic membrane, also known as the eardrum. The sound waves beat against it, creating mechanical vibrations in the membrane, which are then transferred to 3 small bones known as auditory ossicles. The malleus, incus, and stapes carry the vibrations and knock against the opening to the inner ear, which consists of fluid-filled canals. Specialized hair cells in the cochlea detect pressure waves in the fluid, which activate nervous receptors, sending signals through the cochlear nerve toward the brain, which interprets the signals as sounds. The sense of smell is called olfaction, which starts with specialized nerve receptors located on hair-like cilia in the epithelium at the top of the nasal cavity. When we sniff or inhale, some chemicals in the air bind to these receptors. This triggers a signal that travels up to the olfactory bulbs, which contain neuron cell bodies that transmit information along the cranial nerves. The signal is then sent down the olfactory nerves toward the olfactory area of the cerebral cortex. When we eat, chemicals from food enter the papillae, which are the small bumps on the tongue, and reach the taste buds. These chemicals stimulate specialized gustatory cells inside the taste buds, activating nervous receptors. Those nerves carry the signals to the medulla oblongata, which relays them to the thalamus and cerebral cortex of the brain. Skin consists of 3 major tissue layers: the outer epidermis, middle dermis, and inner hypodermis. Specialized receptor cells within these layers detect tactile sensations and relay signals through peripheral nerves toward the brain. The presence and location of the different types of receptors make certain body parts more sensitive. Merkel cells and Meissner corpuscles detect touch, pressure, and vibration. Other touch receptors include Pacinian corpuscles that also register pressure and vibration. To learn more about your anatomy, visit visiblebody.com.
So there we have it. I stumbled across that video and I found it really interesting, and I hadn't really paid that much attention to how our body managed our senses. So I hope that you found that interesting as well. So 5 human senses are sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. And we're going to look today specifically at sight. So we rely on our senses to help us make sense of the environment around us. We live in what could be described as a chaotic world full of noises, smells, and objects, and we use our senses to cut through it all and to help us react accordingly. Our senses helping make sense of the environment around us can be seen in examples of trees shaking over to one side tell us to put on a jacket and a hat because we can see that it's windy outside. A steaming hot surface like a barbecue tells us not to touch it. And a very smelly carton of milk tells us not to drink it. And that's all thanks to our senses. So today we're focusing on sight, and according to the New Jersey EyeSight, our most important organ of sense is our eyes. About 80% of what we learn from the world around us is due to perception, learning, cognition, and activities, and they're all mediated through vision. So, without our eyes to see, our world would be so much different. So I'm going to ask us to do a quick wee activity. Grab a piece of paper or an envelope, just whatever's handy to you. You don't have to share this, so don't worry if it is the back of an envelope. And grab a pen or a pencil, and I'm going to ask you to draw a quick sketch of a sunflower, but with your eyes closed. And that's important, but you've got to keep your eyes closed the whole way through this activity. So please close your eyes, grab your pen and paper, and just sketch yourself a bit of a sunflower. And I'll tell you when to stop. You can add as much detail as you want. Okay, so that was about 30 seconds. You can open your eyes now. That was about 30 seconds. And I'm thinking that you might have found that a wee bit stressful, feeling a wee bit out of your comfort zone, being asked to do something that, well, you're not used to doing. So what I want you to do now is keep your eyes open. I want you to draw the same sunflower again, imagining that first sunflower that you were drawing with your eyes closed. Draw the same one again with your eyes open, and I'll give you the same time again. So that's coming up to 30 seconds again. So did you enjoy that a wee bit more the second time around? Did you put more detail on the second sunflower? Were you drawing in the petals, the little sunflower seeds themselves in the centre? Did you give it leaves? Maybe it was a double-stemmed one, who knows? But it was just really to demonstrate how fortunate we are that we can fully appreciate this sensory experience of sight. If you want to explore some more sight compromise activity, something that I've used before is smearing Vaseline over a pair of lenses of non-prescriptive glasses. Put the glasses on, and now with fuzzy sight, try popping cotton wool balls into an ice cube tray. You should try it. It's not easy at all, but it does demonstrate how much we rely on the sense of touch then when our sight is diminished, and really how other senses are heightened when another one is compromised. So doing the sunflower drawing activity with our sight compromised might help us understand how we take our sight and other senses for granted, and why supporting our cared for to regularly explore using their senses can help keep them connected with their environment, and this in turn enhancing their well-being. And Time magazine research claims that when you practice using your 5 senses, you are probably activating parts of your brain that tend to be neglected, so therefore resulting in better brain health. So where should we start to learn how to see? How should we practice using our sense of sight? So for a start, from indoors, look out through a window. And in this case here, we'll use this, it's pretty boring, static image of a wee pond with an iron structure with bird feeders hanging from it, with some more garden in the background. Have a good look at what you see here, and then focus in on one subject. It could be the bird feeder, it could be the fence. I'm going to pick out the large shrub that I can see here. So start to zoom in on your object of choice. Me, I'm looking at the shrub and I'm wondering if it's swaying in the breeze. I know it's not because it's static, but if it was outside the window, would it be swaying in the breeze? Is the sun casting a shadow to one side? Do the leaves look rough or smooth to me from here? Is it a bit lopsided from where I'm looking at it? Looking at this, looking at only the one item, look at it for what it is and don't compare it with anything else round about it. And we're now tuning into only using our eyes to see this object. And we're not overthinking about the shrub as a shrub, but merely as this object that we're focusing in on. And this can be quite therapeutic in itself. Our minds can take a rest and allow us to enter a quiet, almost meditative state. The simple act of just looking and seeing this one object can be very relaxing for many. So, moving up from just looking, I Spy is a simple activity to engage a group to look and see together, encouraging interaction and conversation. And perhaps especially so at this time of the year when, you know, it's still not particularly warm outside and there's a bit of an east breeze blowing with me today. So every time I walk around the corner, it's, whoa, it's quite cool. So I'm quite glad to be indoors and looking outside. So I Spy is a simple activity to engage a group, supporting them to encouraging them to interact and share conversation together. Prepare the activity in advance, having seating arranged so that everyone has equal opportunity to view the I Spy objects, and have the objects to spy already jotted down as a list. Preparation is key. So looking at this image here on the screen, so the first one in this view could be something, I spy something small in blue. And that would be the watering can. Or we could do, I spy something white and hiding behind a pot. And that would be the goose. Here we have something, I spy something tall and rusty, the clothes pole. Or I spy something brown and a bird might make a home out of it. And it's this brown teapot wedged in the branches of the tree here on the right-hand side image. This game of I Spy encourages us to look deeper, discarding the extent and the volume of the entire view, using our sight to zoom in and pick out the visual clues that we're given. We can start to appreciate the detail of the sight and not just be looking. Things like the teapot, nesting box, and the tree can lead to some interesting conversation as well. Many a person will walk past that teapot and never once see it. Visual stimuli are such important vehicles for carrying and sharing information, and 60% of this visual sharing is given over to the use of colour. If you want to have a more challenging activity that requires physical and increased cognitive input, make up an outdoor scavenger hunt. Scavenger hunts are great for observation of our natural environment, and depending on ability, the list could be made up of things to be found, collected and returned, such as a purple leaf, a smooth stone, a snail shell, and so on. Or adapt the game by taking photos of bigger, more easily spotted objects like this one here. Took a whole load of photographs of bits and bobs around the property, printed it off onto a sheet, and individuals or pairs were then sent off to tick off as they spotted them on their hunt. A scavenger hunt really is such a great way of encouraging folks to explore more, be active, and be more visually aware of their surroundings. Now, this is probably one of my favourite games. Keeping it simple, just using colour matching plates. Use paint colour cards or paint or colouring in pens to mark a colour on a paper plate, choosing colours that can be easily found in your garden space, or perhaps more challenging colours for the more able to hunt out. Stick double-sided tape on the plate and send your folks off to find as many pieces of matching colour within a time frame. So this one here is a wee yellow card, and I think it was called Custard was the name of the paint, and we used, I just went out and picked anything that to me reminded me of this colour, yellow. And then, of course, bring the plates indoors for a tabletop activity afterwards, really encouraging folks to look at their chosen material. And we've zoomed in the photograph here a wee bit, and you can see that the plant material really are pieces of art. They're quite beautiful and intricate when you see them close up. Make it a little bit trickier by using shades of the same colour. I actually surprised myself how much purple flower and foliage was in the garden. I like purple as a colour, that's why I picked the colour cards. And as I say, I was surprised how much purple's out there at the moment. And if you really need a challenge, challenge folks to find a match for all 7 colours on this colour wheel. I did it. I managed near perfect. I got the yellow, the peachy red with a tulip, the lilac, the blue and the green. I was struggling with the orange and the kind of like dark purpley kind of coloured one. I was trying to cheat there, but it was good fun, and it really encourages people to look and see and explore, and you start to look at the detail and start to see the different tones. And whilst we know that colour is a clear indicator for sight, shape can be more interesting, especially when you're challenged in a garden with the shades of green activity. Would you be able to find a leaf for all 5 shades? I'm sure you will if you take the time to look. And be sure to take the time to study the huge differences in shape. Some leaves are land shaped, some are like hearts, some fluted or scalloped edged, and some are serrated. What shape do you prefer? I have to admit, I'm always a sort of like a scallop shaped one. To me just looks nice for some reason. That's my favourite. And there's lots of opportunity for conversation here. So fairly good quality magnifying glasses are available online and can really bring your garden visual finds to life. Petals, leaves and bark are especially intricate when you get up close to their detail. On this image here on the left-hand side, the flower of this camellia looks like raspberry ripple ice cream to me. And then the middle image, this is a Euonymus alatus, the spindle plant. The close-up of it shows its winged effect bark. It feels kind of cork-like when you can almost squidge it a little bit when you touch it. But how beautiful is the purple edge to its green stems? And the last image is of Begonia, also known as elephant's ears. Its stems are rich red They almost look like skinny stalks of rhubarb to me. But no, be careful of which client group you share that piece of comparison with, just in case they do decide to take a bite out of the rhubarb. And of course, the more you see, the more you look, and then the more you see. It's a pile of cut logs. I mean, like, there's so much to see there by just seeing and looking. And then the center image shows the center ruffle of a daffodil head, which is in stark contrast to the thorns of the neighbouring dogwood rose that's growing beside. And then true blue, very few plants in the garden have true blue as their flowering colour, but this is the true blue upright stalks of Muscari. And of course, all this lovely material can be used in leaf and bark rubbings as an extension activity for another day. Exploring our senses can lead to so much more. And of course, not everybody can get outdoors, so bring the outside in. Lay cuttings of foliage and flowers out on a table and start exploring other senses along with sight. Use your sight to decide which ones are the smooth ones and which ones are jaggy, then pick them up and see if you're right. Sometimes things that look jaggy aren't really that jaggy, and the ones that look smooth might be a wee bit deceptive. Which one is giving off the scent? By handling them, you'll soon work that one out. Compare stem and leaf shapes. Watch the flower buds unfurling. And of course, a jam jar full of garden finds is a must. And as I always say, no floristry skills required. The beauty of the shape and colours of the stems will do the magic themselves. So, when I set about preparing this presentation, on first sight, when I went outside, I thought, oh gosh, our garden was a wee bit slow at springing into spring. And I was a wee bit concerned I'd be digging around for material to share. But as you will hopefully have appreciated from the previous images shown, there is lots of colour and shape to catch your eye outdoors now. And I appreciate that not everyone has the luxury of a garden, so I thought I'd share some plants and their planters that you could perhaps copy and enjoy from your own window. So far left, we've got winter flowering ericas, tulip bulbs just unfurling, and stems of white birch in a big pot outside. In the garden, there's a collection of hydrangea, peony roses together. And then the one on the right is just a close-up of daffodil stems with our buds just ready to burst into flower. Left to right, we've got the beautiful variegated dark veined leaf of the Geranium pratense, and then the yellow thyme, a simple basket of lilac, winter lilac violas, and then down in the corner of this raised bed, it's the lovely elephant ears, the Berginia with the tall panicles of white flowers. Bellis, I'm sure everybody will be familiar with them. Reds, pinks, yellows and whites. Lovely spring bedding plant. And then Brachyglottis grayi, also known as Senecio sunshine. Gets lovely wee yellow flowers come the summertime, but it's got lovely kind of furry greyish green leaves all year round. And then the Doronicum leonarda, just a cracking wee bright yellow flower, full of sunshine, full of hope for the coming months. The dwarf rhododendron, the lovely purpley blue one, is beautiful. And then this fern, second from the left, the Atherium, is just so beautiful. You want to touch it when the sun shines on it. It kind of glistens. It's got that kind of metallic look to it. Really one that draws the eye in. And then we've got Muscari night eyes, a beautiful wee plant for an alpine trough. And then the Viola Hungarian Beauty is a wee cracker. Some planters. The colourful hardy winter violas in blue and orange on the left-hand side here bring a wee bit of cheer to this planter of scented skimia and variegated ivy. And the one on the right-hand side is really simple, but I think very effective. The white bellis with ivy creeping in and around it. And this last one is of a fabulous plant. It's the red-berried Skimmia revesiana. It bears both bright red fruits and the scented flowers both at the same time, and just looks fabulous with the froth of yellow violas below. So lots to see outside for you to go and have a look at. And as I say, the more you see, the more you look, the more you look, the more you'll see, and the more experience of using your site and that pleasure that we get from it, you will enjoy. So thank you very much for watching my presentation. So, and a few more people have joined us. It's like in the dark in that room, so as you're just chatting to yourself and like, wow, you come back and someone opened the doors. So I hope you enjoyed that. I don't know if anybody's got any questions just now, if there was anything there, or if you want me to just keep on blathering away, because that's what I do best. Lorna, was there any questions? No?
No questions yet. But Jenny said, thanks, Joan, for all these fab ideas to get us looking.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Okay, so I've just got more stuff here, basically. I'm going to show you the Euonymus alatus. Where have I put that other stem?
If anyone does have a question, feel free to just raise your hand or pop it in the chat or unmute yourself and start talking.
Yeah, the room's small enough that we can all have a blather together. Excuse me. This is the Euonymus alatus that I showed in an image. This is an older branch, so it's a wee bit, it just really shows off really, really well. It's called the winged spindle because there's like 4 bits that stick out. It's almost square in shape. And this is an older piece, so it's a wee bit brittle now, but it's quite spongy and cork-like. And this is a younger piece, and you don't quite see the wings quite the same, perhaps at this angle. But you can see all the buds coming out on it just now. It's just such an interesting plant, and one I've actually got 3 in my garden. That's how much I like it. I always think if you're going to have a plant in your garden, it has to work for 3 seasons of the year, not just in the summertime. And that way you're going to get year-round interest in the garden. And this particular plant is at its most boring in the summertime. And that's the reason why I picked it. In the wintertime, you get to see its lovely stems and the bark, that quirkiness that I've just spoken about. The springtime, you get this lime green leaf coming on, and it's just so pretty how it just sort of, the stem is shown off even more by the zingy lime leaves. Summertime is pretty, just a green shrub, pretty boring if I'm really pretty honest about it, and that's me talking about my own favourite plant. It's got an insignificant little white flower on it that you probably won't even notice. And then comes autumn, and it just turns into this fiery red colour. It's amazing. So autumn, it's stunning. Winter, it's stunning. Spring, it's amazing. So that's my 3 seasons that I get out of my one plant here. So yeah, that's my favourite plant of all time that I've just shared with you all. I saw this morning, so I've just cut it and brought it in. And, you know, I'm actually just going to cut this in half and put it in a jam jar and just enjoy watching the buds unfurl. It's just such a magical time of year just now to actually take the time and look and enjoy seeing what we can see. And then, of course, we've got all the leaves and just even like just collecting foliage and comparing the different shapes. This one's kind of land shaped with a sort of like semi-scalloped edge. And then this U with all its wee leaflets coming out straightways. Lovely to compare, just to compare is super. What else do we have over here? Now this plant, I cannot for the life of me remember its name, so please don't ask me what it is. But if someone recognises it, please tell me what it is, because I don't know. And I just think this is great. I brought it in because, you know, like we've got some moss starting to build up on it, which is interesting. And just like so dinky, the wee yellow flowers with the wee pink centre, if you can maybe just see that. So again, this is going to go into a jam jar and I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is. And the more you look, the more we see there are flowers out there in the garden. This shrub's at the back of the border, and I'd actually kind of forgotten it was there until I went and had a wee poke round about. And look at the lovely wee white flowers. It's an osmanthus. It's beautiful. Great for this time of the year. Excuse me. And this was my jam jar that I made up the other day when I was bringing my bits and bobs in. And basically, it was just a whole load of stuff that I'd picked out the garden. Now, there's no water in here, and that's because I'm holding it over my laptop, but please put water in your jam jar or your plants. Your stems won't last very long. And it's really simple, and it's just so colourful and just very evocative on the eyes. So, oh, and the wee mascara. Look at that. What's not to like about something like that? And there's lots of daffodils growing outside, but I would encourage you not to pick daffodils from public parks and places like that. They last for so much longer outside growing, and let everybody enjoy them. There's daffodils for sale. I bought a bunch of daffodils this morning for the next few thing I'm going to do. And they were only £1, which I know might be a lot. But please don't pick daffodils from public places. Let everybody enjoy them. So I do have I've got a wee jam jar here that I made earlier on with some shop bought daffodils and a couple of stems of pussy willow. This is another lovely sensory plant that we can look at. You know, it's just so attractive visually. We've got the dark stems with the white cotton wool bud-like buds on it that will break into leaf in the coming weeks. And it's just so soft and fluffy to touch. So we've got quite kind of bendy bits at the top here. So what I'm going to do is take my secateurs and cut them about 30 centimetres. That's more than 30 centimetres, about 40 centimetres down. And I'm going to grab my elastic band. Where have I put it? And I'm just quite literally going to bend them into a bit of a U shape. That's not a U shape. An upside down, what's that? The shape of an eye drop. I don't know. What shape's that? Lorna, you can help me. Anyway, I'm bending them into, I guess they look a bit like bunny ears.
Yeah, bunny ears, teardrops, something like that.
Yeah, okay. So basically, that's what I've done. And I'm just going to elastic band around the bottom, since there's only one of me here. Or if there was two of you, you could get some raffia or string or a bit of ribbon, just to secure them at the bottom. And I'm going to kind of like pop them into shape a little bit more. And then I've got my jam jar. I'm just going to, oops, wedge it in. This one here, I've got stones in the bottom of it, no water in yet because I'm working beside the laptop. But we've now created a wee frame that we can take our daffodils, and I'm going to arrange them in height. So that they're not all the same height. So I've gone like that. So now all different edges there. Secateurs. Oops. I've got a straight edge like so now. And now I'm going to, you can't actually see me doing this, but I'm just going to wedge them in between the framework of the willow, and you get to see the willow behind it. And the daffodils are now not standing in a clump like usually you'd put them in, but they're sort of spread out. And because we've already adjusted the heights of them, it looks much more natural. And I've already tied a bit of hessian round there just to finish off. Put that one like that. Because I'm moving them about, they're starting to fall out of place. So you can see there. So that's a really nice, simple activity to do with daffodils that are really cheap to buy in the shops at the moment. And if you're looking for something even simpler to do, get yourself a juice bottle, put some gravel to kind of weight it down a little bit. I've not put water in it yet, again, because I'm working at the table here. Fill it with water and get yourself some pussy willow and another 3 stems of daffodil. And again, I've already adjusted the height of them and I've cut them flat at the bottom. And I'm just going to feed them down into the neck of the juice bottle. And we have ourselves a very simple arrangement that I'm sure many of your clients would be able to manage on their own, and it's secured in the nice narrow neck of the bottle. And of course, me being me, I need a bit of ribbon in there. So she who throweth nothing outeth has got a big bit of orange ribbon here. It's quite elaborate looking, but that's good. And it kind of covers the neck of the bottle. It takes away from the fact that it's a juice bottle. Tie it into a big fancy bow. Can't really see me doing that, but I'll hold it up in a wee second. And we've got a lovely arrangement that everyone could take home with them. And it's been relatively inexpensive to make. We've recycled a plastic bottle and we're getting to enjoy the textures and the sights of these lovely daffodils. And this one's just starting to come out. And I think it's actually a double flowered daffodil, so even better. There we go. Right. Do we have any questions? Does anybody want to share their favourite plants or what's looking beautiful in their own spaces or their gardens at the moment?
Joan Barney is asking, can you say the name of your favourite plant again? I think just so we can take a wee note of it.
Okay, it is Euonymus alatus. And I will, if I can find the chat. Where's the chat gone? Is it in the more button now?
Yes, it's in more.
Yeah.
I can pop it in, Joan, to see if you have any.
So it's Euonymus it's okay. I've got it.
Okay.
Euonymus alatus. There we go. There you go, Barney. I just think it just does so much. It works so hard in the garden. It will probably cost you a wee bit more to buy. It's probably, you know, time and a half again if you pay £5 for a plant, it'll probably cost you about £7 to buy this one, just because it's a wee bit more expensive to buy. But it does in the shade, it does in the sun. I've got it growing in a raised bed with homemade compost, and I've also got it, I'm on quite heavy clay soil here. I've got it in another 2 places in the garden, and one bit is particularly wet at the minute, and it's still holding its head up quite happily. So yes, one that I would recommend. Thank you.
Great. I think someone had unmuted earlier, and then when I started talking, they muted again. Is there anybody that was wanting to voice a question?
Yeah, this is Kathleen here. Sorry. I just
Okay.
wanted to say the paper plate color scheme thing seems really great. Never tried it. Seems very straightforward. I have 2 clients in one of my groups who are both visually impaired. So it's a real challenge sometimes to kind of do a tabletop activity with them. But I find that if you share the plant, you know, the cutting, whatever, and have people around the table focus on the smell, you know, the sensation, all of that, even to the point where if you take leaves and crinkle it in their ears, they're all using the different senses. So it's challenging, but it's great. So thanks for sharing your activities today. Thanks.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome, and thank you for sharing your experience. I mean, leaves are a great material to support those with visual impairment, because their sense of touch will be heightened, and they really can pick out running their fingers around the edge of leaves, the serration or the scalloped edges, and it would be amazing. I would actually set up a little competition, blindfold the others, and they've all got to identify the leaves. And I'm sure your visually impaired clients will be the ones that will streak ahead, and they will be super duper fast at doing that game.
Okay, thanks for that, Joan.
Okay, Caroline had said in the comments earlier, great presentation. Thank you very much for highlighting plants and objects that we can sometimes pass and not take heed of and enjoy their presence. And Linda also said that she's going to try the colour plate activity at work just now. So thanks very much for the great idea.
Great, no, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining in to be part of it. Great.
Any more questions?
Yeah. I think it's just like taking the time, because I know I've really enjoyed doing this, because I had to slow down to make choice of what I was going to pick to bring in. And there were some things that I discarded because they didn't make the cut. But at the same time, perhaps I should have brought them in, because sometimes use of language is a good way to support sight also. If you're talking about a murky pail of water, you know, like you're looking at something that isn't that pleasant to look at, but it's murky, and it's like murky, such a great word, and it describes what you're looking at. So sometimes, you know, like we could set a challenge. Instead of going out to look for all the lovely yellow things, you want to go out and look for the slimy brown things, because there's lots of slimy brown things in the garden as well. And as long as you don't bring in worms and things like that, then we're okay. So yeah, be creative with sight. And there's so much out in the garden. You don't have to go out into the garden and double dig. There's lots to enjoy out in the outdoors that you can get your clients out and just looking. It's great fun.